Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
The Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. Of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude, and friends. Hi, friend. Speaking of friends, here, let me use this little camera to... With us today, we have someone who's getting his feathers back, Buddy. And there's Sugar Bird. Lucy is right next to me, and I got Snowball here. Lorelei's sitting on my shoulder, and so is Cecil, so I can't get them right now. Over here we have, this is Salamander. Hello, Sal. Pippa. Yeah, you see her beak's got a little dark spot. She was chewing at the cardboard a little heavy there, and she's got a bit of a thing going on with her nerves, so she's got some medicine there. Right. Where the heck is he? He's here somewhere. Where'd he go? Marley. Oh, right in front of my face. That's pretty good. Couldn't even see Marley right in front of my face. Hi, Marley. So today, what we're going to talk about, you silly girl, more of a moth than a bird, you know that? Now wait for the airplane to go by. Cecil, what are you doing? Sorry, Lorelei, not gonna eat my clothes, please. That's the one thing about having her here. She will not leave my clothing. Constantly having to replace clothing. Right, Lorelei? So what we're going to talk about today is our little trip, because the roof got redone. Now the sanctuary here it's in a rental, and we have good people we rent from, but they wanted to replace the roof. So what that does is it means you got to find out from the roofers what chemicals they were going to use, and they're kind of doing it the old way. The old way is to use asphalt. So I got the brand name and the specific asphalt they were using and looked it up on the web to find the MSDS, which is the Material Safety Data Sheet. And you might find this important in your life. When you go to use anything inside your house, you should read the MSDS on it, any kind of chemical, to see if there's anything toxic. Well, the number one toxic chemical was...
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild. Special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
It's toxic sulfur hydroxide, which you may know as mustard gas. And if that asphalt gets too hot, it produces this. For us, it could kill us. You know, if we got a really strong breathing, if we were to breathe it for a long time. But for these guys, hi Pippa. Hi Pippa. But for these guys, even one whiff could do them in. Right, Marley? Right, Marley? Oh, there goes Pip. So, I had to decide what to do. Unfortunately, it wasn't all my decisions. We do have a board of directors, and I talked to the president and her husband, and they offered us a place to stay. Now, here's the thing. We have a van. The van has all the cages we need to take them somewhere. But these are small travel cages, okay? We got them from iCrate. They're fine for making birds travel, except for Cecil. Actually, Mr. Cecil here, he tears apart cages for breakfast, okay? So, to get him up there, we had a cage that's a little bit smaller, not a lot, just a little bit smaller, that was stronger, okay? Made by another company. So he went into that cage, and that comes up later in the story. If you're going to go out because there's a fire or an emergency, an earthquake, if you're leaving because of a tornado, whatever, you know, no tornadoes here yet, but you know, there's always that potential someday. You have to think about the cages you've got, whether or not those sizes are going to work. So, packed up everything. Realized that the list I had for emergencies wouldn't cover 6 days. Fortunately for Jeff Bezos and Amazon, you know, you can, in a couple of days, you can order what you need. Got a cooler, so I could take the stuff for their wet food. Peaches, which with wet food, I'm going to take a little of sugar up there because she's preening and flashing her tail. So, Peaches, pretty girl, what you doing down there? All right, buddy. I don't know where you got that. Anybody recognize that particular bird call he's making? Let me know. I don't recognize it. Lorelei, stop with my clothing. Stop. Stop with my clothing. Stop it. No, I didn't mean to move you to my shirt. I think she wants me to be a religious man because she's making everything I own holy. I love her to death, but she is a monster when it comes to clothes. Peaches, what's the problem? Why are you underneath the chair and screaming? So there were other things that I hadn't planned on. You know, I didn't plan on staying somewhere for 6 days, and I thought, well, the roof would be done in a day. But checking with the owners of the property and then them checking with the company that was going to do the work, they said no, 3.5 days. Because they had to do the carport and then the roof. And, one day is just tearing everything apart. Then there's, like doing half the roof and another half the next day, that kind of thing. And anyway, so 3.5 days. Then you got to figure you got to let the smells dissipate, even though the toxic sodium hydroxide would be gone. It would irritate their lungs, and that may be part of why Pippa's, sneezing and stuff is because of any residual odor. Although I can't smell it, I'm a human being. I'm not a dog. Peaches, calm down there. I can't even see you. What are you doing? I'll pick you up. She's right at the edge of the chair, just under my feet. Aren't you? So, again, I had my checklist for emergencies, but I had to add to it because we're going to be there for a while. Had to buy some water bottles and a new water dispenser. I didn't want to take hours from here. Figured we could use it anyway. Did learn some things from that. No more 5 gallons. The 3 gallons are much better. They're easier to fill with my RO system. They're easier to carry, and when you got a hernia, it works a lot better. So, a little filming go of what's going on down here. So anyway, that's Lorelei and her would-be mate. She wants to mate with him, and of course, I'm constantly trying to stop that. You can get up on my chest if you want to. On up, little girl. There's that bird he does again. So, anyway, there were other things like food for me. I hadn't even considered that. Never even thought about myself. Obviously, I had figured what food to take for them. You're so nuts. Are you trying to get me to get you he's trying to get me to give him a cashew. Again, when you find out what they like the best, what you do is you take it out of their diet. And once it's out of their diet, you give it to them in 2 ways. One is as a reward for the behavior you want. And the other way is come-bearing gifts. Because if you've got a bird like Marley, who is said to be evil and monstrous and horrible, just a week of come-bearing gifts, he likes edamame, and he was a new bird. Actually, he got rid of some of his old tendencies. He's always been a good bird. He just learned how to be bad with the people he was with. So, because people don't know how to work with these birds, they just wait for something to go wrong. They throw their hands up and go, "Oh my God, what do I do now? Who do I talk to?" That doesn't work very well. Can you imagine how that would be if you got into a car, you'd never driven it before, and you started rolling downhill and you went, "Oh my God, what do I do?" Well, you're going to crash, right? Probably. So in order to avoid that, your best bet is to know what you're doing. So anyway, that's why he came over and was making that bird sound, which I now realize I'm training him, or he's training me. When I make that sound, it's now time to give me a treat. So I'm going to be hearing more of that bird, whatever bird that is that he's imitating. So now when I put all the cages into the van, I hadn't planned on taking them out, okay? So I wired them in. And I took tie wire and I twisted it, and then I put rebar along the bottom of the van, and then 2 pieces of rebar on the bottom, 2 pieces of rebar on the top, and then there are hooks on the bottom of the van, these big heavy metal hooks that you can hook to, okay? Well, that was great, except for one thing. When you have to take it Peaches. When you have to take it apart and put it back together again, that isn't a good thing. So while I was up there, I'll jump ahead just a little bit. While I was up there, I was hunting around on Amazon, just trying different things, and then something from the plumbing industry hit me called a hog ring. You have a pair of pliers, you put the ring in there, and it squeezes it down. So I thought, well, I wonder if they make hog rings that you could put cages together with. Well, a lot of cages are actually put together just that way. Bobaloo? Hello, Bob. Kisses, Bob? Kisses? Good boy, Bobaloo. I have seen the joy in Babalu's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babalu love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation.
Boy. Kisses? Kisses? Good boy.
My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually Babalu will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day.
Hello, Bob. Babalu. Bob's a good boy. Bob's a good bird. Bob's a good boy. Bob's a good bird.
His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babalu a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. People like farmers go out to build a hen house. They'll use hog rings to put together the chicken wire and stuff. So anyway, that solved the problem on the coming back, right? Because I can put the hog rings on, then I got special cutters that will cut the hog rings if I ever need to, because they're cheap and you can just slap hog rings back on it. Anyway, so I had wired all that together, and I had mistakenly believed that the spare to the van was underneath that, but it wasn't. Actually, there isn't one. I got to get a spare for it. There's a compartment underneath the tail where the spare goes. All the things you learn when you're doing something like this, right? So their medicine, I have a wine cooler, which keeps it at 68 degrees, so the medicine's not going to go bad. So I had to transport that, but I had a battery backup for it in case the power went off here. So I transported all that up. I also have an adapter that gives me 120 watts of power off the DC, in the vehicle, and converts it to AC, so I could run a HEPA filter if I need to, or anything else electrical. So that was So anyway, it was thinking about all the things that had to go with them: the wipes, the paper towels, just a list of things. I'll put a list in the show notes if somebody wants it. Let me know. I'm not going to update the show notes unless somebody shows an interest. I don't think anybody's reading our show notes, to be honest with you. I've never had a comment on them. So, let's see what you two doing over there. So we get up there and we have to untie all this stuff, right? We have to untie it. Nice scratch there, buddy. You're looking good. You got feathers, kid. That's good. Yeah, he says you're talking to me. I don't know about that. Yeah, I hear you, Peach, but I can't film you. You're under the chair. Peaches, I can't film you down there. Don't start the vibrating, Lorelei. Uh-oh, she's going spin cycle on me. Okay, why don't you move up here? Okay. I just move her when she starts to go spin cycle. See, she's got the old sweaty look on her face with her beak open. This one wants to be a mommy real bad, so we get up there, we get him out of the vehicle, undo all that stuff, get him in there. Now, you don't want him sitting on the floor. And fortunately, I have these little tables that I bought from Amazon that just real easily unfold. They only stand about 2.5 feet tall, but we'll put boards across that and set the cages on there. If you do something like that, that's great. Just be sure to put a board across the top so that if two birds launch off that at the same time, you don't have cages falling over on the floor. Don't ask me how I know that. But anyway, once I got the second board on there, that problem solved. Now, we hadn't, obviously if there's a major emergency, you just do what you have to do and you cross your fingers things work out. Unless you got somebody who's willing to have 13 cages ready for you. Not likely, right? Because we got 13 birds here. We're getting lots of offers to go 14, 15, 16, but we just don't have the personnel because we're out in the middle of nowhere. You can go ahead, Bob. You can preen him. Snowball wants to get preened. That's good. Oops. Why is this upside down? Turn around here. Stop. There we go. And there's Bob preening Snowball. A little interspecies preening here. Peaches. So, get situated, and I brought part of my food processor, and I forgot part of it, so I ended up having to use one of their old food processors. I also forgot to bring my pressure cooker, and that makes when you take vegetables like broccoli and you cook them in there, they come up tender. You can overdo it and make them into mush, but they come up tender, right? Doing that in a microwave, they turn out tough. So it was the third day I was up there, I realized that you microwave them until they're soft enough, then you blend all those big things that are going to turn into rubber, and put them back and finish microwaving. So that's what I did. But the first day I had rubber broccoli and rubber cauliflower and carrots that you could throw at somebody and hurt them. So, well, that was nice. Can you do that again? I missed that. That's the one thing about not having a static camera here. You're so pretty. Such a good boy. That's Marley. You're such a good boy. That's an R. That's an R. He likes chewing on that. So, get up there and try to organize everything, and the first night we had two night frights because they're in a place they're not used to, and it's not completely dark because there's a street light outside, and they didn't have dark out windows, so they had blinds, right? And that's another thing. With the blinds, you got to, during the day, when they're out, you got to have them all the way up so they won't eat the blinds. Blinds are not cheap, so. But at night there was a little bit of light. That was enough for them to kind of realize they weren't where they were supposed to be. So, thank you. That's just what I wanted. You little toad. Hold on. You just have to come up here when I have to wipe my hand, don't you? I have a spot I can wipe it. All right. Wait a minute. Try right there. I can't get. I've got somebody sitting where my towels are, so I can't get to them. All right, what is this? What are we looking at here? Is this a convention or what? Is this a convention? Look at this. What is this? Good grief. Good grief. Well, actually, it's kind of cool. Isn't that Snowball? So I didn't have all the things to cook their food right. I did get it done. By the third day, I had it into a rhythm. And also cleaning. There's another thing. Now, no, Lorelai, no vibrating, please. No vibrating. Go. Oh, that's not Lorelai. That was. What are you doing, vibrating? What are you doing, Lucy? Vibrating. So, back to the night frights. The night frights they're no fun. They're no fun at all. Because it takes a couple of hours, usually, to get birds where they're calm again. So I calmed them down, and that wasn't too bad. It only took about a half hour each bird to get them calmed down. And I had to turn the lights on very low, just low lighting, just enough so that the bird could calm down. And the other birds wouldn't start screaming in the middle of the night, waking up everybody in the house. And they were good. They were absolutely good birds. But they weren't noisy. They got noisy during the day, but they most of the time at night they didn't. They each had their little quirks as the days went on. Lucy would, just as the sun was rising, she'd start making little noises, and it would get louder and louder and louder until I finally got over there. She taught me that she's going to make that sound till I come over, so I started just going right over and getting her and sitting with her instead of letting her get louder. So she had me trained perfectly then. Now, this one on the third day managed to get himself flipped upside down and his wings stuck out of the cage. Now, I wasn't leaving them alone for any appreciable amount of time during the day, because they were out for 5 hours, and then I'd be in and out preparing things. Get away from there! No! Sneaky bird. And she knew, too, she was doing something she wasn't supposed to. This one, Peach, was trying to eat that foot right there on the bottom of the camera. As soon as I said get away from there, she ran, so she knew she wasn't supposed to be doing that. So, I love you, Peaches. I'm sorry. She really scooted, too. I didn't know. It's not like she's ever been hit. Doesn't do any good to do that kind of thing to these guys. They don't understand it. It's like giving a cat a bath, except that it just scares them, and they might learn to never do it, but they never trust you again. So you don't want to do that kind of thing. But anyway, I forgot where I was, so I'll just start somewhere else. And then Sugar, this one up here, the little sugar bird. On the third night, she decides, or the fourth night, hi Peach, the fourth night, she decides she's going to aspirate water in the middle of the night. So she went over to drink in the dark and didn't drink it properly, and she's, you know how they do that. So I had to get her out and make sure she wasn't going to choke to death. And you always worry when they get water in their lungs, that's not good for them. So, but that was okay. I mean, I had to eventually move her into a slightly larger cage that they had. One of their travel cages about twice as big. All of these cerams had to be in a cage large enough for them to expand their wings. That's something that, I've had to make changes so that in the future they don't go into a cage it makes it hard for them to expand their wings. The original purpose of the cage was if we had an earthquake or a fire or something like that so we could get out of here. And they weren't meant to stay in them for 6 days in a row. But the one that had the worst trouble was this one, Cecil. The one who's walking around with, he's hitting me with this piece of wood now. The last night we were there, I woke up to the sound of an unusual grinding beak. It sounded like somebody was, you okay up there? Sneezing again, little girl? You're not a little girl, you're a boy over there. Anyway, it's horrible grinding sound, and I mean, not the normal grinding you get from a beak. And I went over to his cage and used my phone to put a light on him. Just a little light to see what was going on. He was sitting on top of the water dish with his face like this, going, ah! Oh God, he's going completely psychotic. 2.5 hours later of holding him and petting him and telling him it was okay, he finally started to come around. When I mean come around, I mean he started to be Cecil again. He reminded me of when I first got him, when he was completely psychotic. He had slipped back into that state. So that day, the day we were moving out, I took him and made sure he was with me when I was going to have to do something that I couldn't take him with me, like outside, then Debbie would watch him, and when Debbie was doing something, then Dan would watch him. So we just traded off, and he never did go back into a cage until we started heading back. And then I put a cage next to me in the van, and he was right there, and I talked to him the whole time. And he listened to music, and he was okay. He's fine now, but if they're going to be kept in small travel cages for any length of time, they can go psychotic. The ones that didn't have a problem, or much of a problem, were Mr. Marley here. He got along fairly well. long as I gave him his edamame, he was fine. I know, Marley. I love you, Marley. I love you. Marley, big boy. You big sweetie pie. And then Buddy didn't have a problem either. And actually, after that trip up there, he's gotten better. He prefers being here to where he was because being in a small cage is not fun for anybody. But neither one of them seemed to have any major psychological problems. Whereas Lorelei was looking like she was lost on another planet. Kaz was crying quite a bit when Kaz was in a cage. They were all having issues. All the cockatoos were having issues of one kind or another. And then Pippa, she swallowed lead, so a couple of times, 3 times actually, she flew over towards the window. Everybody else knew there was a window there, but she would fly into it. She didn't hit her head hard or anything. She didn't have enough room to really get up any speed, but then I'd have to hold her for a while and make sure she was okay and make sure her eyes looked all right, even though she hadn't hit it that hard. So even 5 hours out and playing around wasn't enough. Now Rome, who never leaves, well, he leaves his cage, but he just comes out, lets me hold him, then he goes back in his cage. He goes about as far as the kitchen. I'm hoping to get him back into the socialization room soon, but even he had difficulties. I had him in the larger cage. They had one larger cage there, like 2.5 by 2.5 cage, and I thought he was going to need it. He ended up wanting to be next to the wall in a small cage, which was good because then I was able to put Salamander in there when Salamander got himself turned upside down and his wings stuck out the side of that small cage. So Salamander probably had the second worst psychological effect of being put in a small cage. So I'm still trying to come up with some better way for extended stays. They make some fold-away cages. I know King's cages do, but the aluminum cages they have start at like $500, and we don't really have like, if you think 13 times 500, we don't have that kind of money. So coming back and getting them into the house, we came back, we made sure that there was no smells around, we turned all the HEPA filters on full blast. The other thing was that I ran there. I bought timers for the air conditioners here, so the air conditioners came on every day because it was hot. And of course, we had to do this while it was 102, right? So the air conditioners came on every day so that the place didn't overheat. I left the kitchen door open because there's no air in there, but that kept it from maybe 90 degrees in the living room and the kitchen. The other thing you need to do if you're going to be gone any extended period of time, you can get these, obviously you can get them from Amazon, but you can buy these, why is it going upside down? There we go. You can buy refrigerator thermometers that have Bluetooth connections. So when I came back, I was able to look and see that the freezer had never gone below minus 4 degrees. I use Celsius. Because, let's face it, if you're trying to get to 0 degrees, right? You want to get to 0 degrees, the way to do that is use Celsius, because 0 degrees Celsius is freezing, where 100 degrees Celsius is boiling. And Fahrenheit makes no sense at all. So, but I was able to look and make sure it had never the power had never gone out, because if the power had gone out for any time, then the freezer would have gotten above 0. So you need to think about that too. If you've got any kind of refrigeration or freezing, you need to have something that'll tell you that it's safe when you come back, because things could thaw and then refreeze and they wouldn't be safe. Hi guys. Peach, what are you doing down there? No, she's been chewing up a cinnamon stick. So we got them back in, got them back into their cages. You know, within a couple of days, I was caught up and everything was back on schedule. And then looking to make sure that, you know, going through and double checking to make sure every bird is acting normally. They don't have any residual negative effects. Like this one, he has positive effects all the way around. He's back, he's happier being here. And he's playful, he's got his feathers coming in. This one up here is talking a lot more, saying I love you a lot more. Long-term effect seems to be everybody's a little happier to be here, but what I can tell you is that you really can't plan to have everything done right. Just do your best and then be prepared to make notes about what you need to change and what you need to figure out to do differently. I don't suggest doing a full trial run, but you could do a trial run without birds. You know, you can see, well, I'm going to put them here. This is where they're going to be in an emergency. If you've got a place where they'll let you use a room or something like that. Figure out how much time you need to get there. We didn't have a lot of time, okay? We didn't have much time at all when it came to it. We knew they were going to redo the roof last year, but we didn't know exactly when. And we found out 3 or 4 days before we had to figure out what to do. And bought some new HEPA filters, ones we're real happy with. These Winix with the... they've got ions. They use ions to clean the air when you turn it on. The difference is that they have positive and negative ions, so they don't create ozone. Ozone is really bad for their lungs, okay? Bad. So, but they're all back. They're doing well. And it was a heck of an experience. We had good friends that helped us do this, and you can't beat it. So I'm going to give you just a little quick run around of the birds in here, what they're up to while we're doing this. And then hey, don't walk on her back, you silly bird. And then we're going to say goodbye. So to all of our patrons, I want to thank you so much for all that you do to keep us from going bankrupt. You know, we're cautious with our money, and we do have, as one of my mentors taught me years ago, we have a nice long credit line, but we are trying to stay away from using it. So we use it to buy all of our different credit cards to buy things, and then we pay them right off. So that way we can keep them, because if you don't use them, they're going to cut them away. We lost one and gained one just recently. So anyway, thank you so much to our patrons that make all this possible. I want to say a special thank you to April from Parrot Playhouse, because she had done a fundraiser for us on her birthday, and that brought in $700, which paid for a lot of what we had to do on this vacation, as I called it. It's funny because people say, I hope you had a good vacation. Well, if you could call it that. So thanks again. Thanks, April. Thanks all of our supporters for everything you do, and for putting up with the fact we haven't put out a video in a while. Obviously, after Coco died, it didn't feel much like doing these videos, but miss my friend, but we're going to keep plugging, aren't we? So thanks again. We'll talk to you later. See you next time. We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.